What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you. One of my sponsors, Steel Supplements, link and discount code down in the description, as well as Webull, where I am a preferred influencer. You will get a free stock value between $300 and $300 just for signing up with my link, but only until the end of the month. EA Sports is going to release what is supposed to be its big gameplay reveal tomorrow, and they put some images out ahead of it. And I wanted to cover a few of these things with you because there are some positives here. First of all, in terms of this cutscene, this looks a lot better than the cutscenes we've been dealing with in the past. Obviously, with all of these things, it comes down to repetition and how often you're going to see it. If you really overanalyze this, you'll see the same individual's faces repeated in the crowd a couple times. I know this is a big thing for certain people. They want to see different jersey numbers. They want to see different faces, which at this point, given the computing power, I don't think is too much to ask. Really weird 4th and 28 with Garoppolo going 0 for 2 on this drive. But what they're trying to show here is how the fields are going to distinguish themselves in terms of home field advantage. I think this is kind of a big thing, but also, as far as gameplay, I mean, this isn't really gameplay improvements. This is more an atmosphere improvement. So it's strange that when they go and they talk about what they're doing to make gameplay better or different, that they're leading with, and again, I hate to say this, but these are things that have not only been in Madden before, but also been in other games. So carrying on with the Seattle Seahawks, they show you that the play art is going to be hard to see due to the infamous crowd noise, which obviously Seattle, one of the stadiums known for the 12s, if you will. But at the same time, a lot of stadiums get loud. Just because Seattle is known for it, I don't know that this should limit it to just them being able to do this when you can go to plenty of stadiums and on rivalry games on 3rd and 4th down get just as much noise. I mean, having been to a Ravens-Steelers game, I can tell you that that crowd is probably very similar to what you would experience on just an average day in Seattle versus, an average day in Cleveland. I mean, those are passionate fan bases, and to distinguish them this way is accurate to a degree, but it just seems like they're making changes in these things so that they can say they made changes in these things. I don't truly feel like this is something that monumentally impacts the gameplay of Madden to the point you're going to go out and say, okay, now I'm going to buy this game. Now it's a better game. Now I want to play it because it's different. Moving forward, they talk about the Windy City, Chicago, making kicks more difficult. Again, I mean, this is something that you just cannot dispute has been in the game before. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't an actual reason for this, but as I mentioned in a prior video, Soldier Field, Lambeau Field, these are historic places in all of sport, and I feel like they deserve some type of recognition when you play there because they should be intimidating places. However, in Madden, we just had this week-to-week-to-week vibe that this game has taken on for a very long time. If you're telling me in a 24-24 overtime game with just seconds left where there's a 38-yard field goal, and the reason that you're going to distinguish this differently now at the end of the game is because my kick meter is going to be different, well, I don't really know that that's what I want the game to replicate it with. If I've got a tie game at the end, you used to have the kick, where it would zoom in. You didn't have the kick meter at all. Now we're back into the situation where they wanted this kind of ice the kicker, freeze the kicker mode. And now you're just portraying to me as, oh, well, now this is just Chicago. This is what Chicago does. I think anyone that's spent years with this game realizes we've had things better implemented than this to replicate these same things. Now, finally, I will say the one that is probably displayed the best here is the Denver Broncos, where you have fewer stamina points for visiting teams that are playing at altitude, or really, any team that would be playing at altitude. If, let's say, you relocated, oh, that's right, in Madden, you have problems with relocating, and you can only go to specific places. But regardless, they show a Raiders receiver here, apparently struggling to breathe in an animation as he's lost his stamina playing at altitude. And this is, one of the better ones. I mean, I went over all of these, except the 49ers, which I missed for some reason, and like 6 people called me out on it. But regardless, I went through all of these, and as I said, these are great final touches. If this was a game that was much further along, if this was a game that was much more robust in terms of the gameplay, yeah, these are fantastic things to kind of give you that little edge that pushes you over. But what I would offer to anyone who thinks just a negative critique or just, EA is never going to make me happy, let me ask you this. Are any of these features truly only available because we're on an next-gen console? Or any of these features truly only in the game now because of the computing power that this console's being offered to Madden allows them to do? I personally believe no. If you're talking about modifying play art and stamina, to me, I feel like that's something that could have been done years ago. We've asked for years for things to be put in place to actually have stadiums be different in this game. And now if you're going to package them, so to speak, as a gameplay change, this is a core problem. There's a video that I'm going to work on over the week here where EA basically comes out and says how happy they are and how dependent they are with these animation-based tackling systems. And that doesn't make any sense to a game that's selling us physics year after year after year. And I think if you're going to continue, as I mentioned in yesterday's video, to give us excuses for the reason why the game isn't there, and then back that up with different rationale, essentially selling us one thing while providing us the other, you are going to get into a real challenge into selling improved gameplay if you're so stuck in the mechanics and the way this game operates. If you're not willing to try to put in a physics-based tackling system, why have we used physics as keywords in trailers for many of the past few years? That doesn't make any sense to me. If your focus is gameplay, then why are you showing me your gameplay changes revolve around pre-snap play art and stamina? Those don't really affect gameplay. Those affect visuals, right? You can't tell me that the gameplay is different now because your kick meter and your pre-snap reads changed. Anyone trying to defend this in the community is going to, quite frankly, look quite silly because you're actually at a point where you're not even playing the physical game. The 30 to 40 seconds you spend actually playing the game as the players, moving them, you don't have a lot of change here, other than the fact that you have your stamina for players in Denver a little bit lower than it normally would be. Is that truly a gameplay change? If it is to you, right, if that's your expectation of this is a lot of gameplay improvements that someone needs to rally behind and say, yes, this game is improving. See, we told you they want to make the game better. See, we told you they're listening to us. I think that's where you're drawing the line in the community, because there are people that are running behind this and saying, great, let's carry the EA flag. Look at what a fantastic job they're doing. This game is next level now. And then there's going to be people like myself that say, wait a second. Not only am I old enough to remember features like this in past games like NCAA 14, but this actually isn't even a true gameplay change. This isn't changing my gameplay experience. This is just changing, essentially, what amounts to the user interface, right? Essentially, it amounts to what I'm seeing on the screen before I snap the ball, and perhaps makes sometimes a bit more of a challenge for the user because my kick meter is hard to distinguish when I'm trying to win a game, and my players move a little bit slower because they're, quote, reacting to a higher altitude that they're not familiar with. I don't know if those are the changes in gameplay that anybody has constantly been pounding the drum at EA to make. I've been talking about getting some animations out of the game, which we're learning right now they have no interest or desire in doing. But the gameplay trailer, if this is what it's going to highlight, is going to get a lot of reactions, and honestly, I will be very interested to see how people react to this, because there will be a large amount of people that are probably initially happy, just like with the trailer, and give this video tons of thumbs up and praise, but then I think back behind that, as we've seen, if you haven't went and looked at the trailer recently, once this settles for a couple days and people look and say, hey, wait a second, this really isn't gameplay changes, I think you'll see a rush of down likes and comments questioning what exactly these things are going to change this is. Love to know your thoughts on this. Appreciate you checking it out. I will be back in the week with more commentary.